Barbie is hands down the funniest movie we've gotten all year, and honestly, I just love this movie, so let's talk about it. As always, this video will have spoilers, so if you don't want spoilers, head over to my shorts or my TikTok and check out my one-take movie review on this movie. But without further ado, let's talk about the movie Barbie. This movie is non-stop laughs pretty much all the way through and is just so entertaining to watch. It also surprisingly has a lot of emotion towards the end and has a great message that I think a lot of people need to hear. So let's get into what this movie is about. So this movie obviously follows Barbie, who is played by Margot Robbie, and she is living the perfect life in Barbie land. But when she wakes up one day and things start to get a little weird, she decides to go to the real world with the help of Ken to figure out what's wrong. Starting things off with the good, and in my opinion, this is the highlight of the movie, and that is the humor. And I mean this when I say this, but this movie was absolutely hysterical. This movie wasn't just making me chuckle at a couple jokes here or there, but full on laugh out loud at just how funny and absurd some of the jokes were in this movie. The comedic timing of this cast was great and made the humor that much better. I also enjoyed how self-aware this movie was because it definitely wasn't afraid to make fun of itself, and I really enjoyed that. And one thing that surprised me about this humor is that it was pretty mature. I mean, there were plenty of jokes in this movie that were definitely geared towards adults and would just go right over a kid's head. And overall, just the meta humor of this movie, I enjoyed thoroughly all the way through, and there were times in this movie where I was laughing for an extended period of time. And next up for the good, I have both Margot Robbie and Ryan Gosling, and they were probably the perfect casting for both Barbie and Ken because their chemistry was off the charts in this movie. They were so fun to watch on screen together, and they were so entertaining. Margot Robbie captures that smiley innocence of Barbie and just does so well throughout the entire movie, but Ryan Gosling as Ken is just immaculate in this movie. He is hands down the funniest thing about this movie, and his comedic side is awesome, and I just want to see more of it. And I'm pretty sure every time he was on screen, I was laughing at something he did because he was just that good as Ken. I was not expecting him to have a whole musical number in this movie, but his song, I'm Just Ken, that he performed at the end of the movie is probably one of my favorite parts of this entire film and just had me dying the whole time. And I don't know if it's gonna happen or if it's even possible, but I would love if he got nominated for like Best Supporting Actor for an Oscar next year because his performance and everything about his Kenergy in this movie was hilarious. And next up for the good, and I just simply cannot go this whole video without talking about this, and that is the deeper message that this movie had. So obviously this was a movie that was made for women by women and packs a great message about just the everyday struggles of simply existing and being a woman in today's society. And this movie really drove that home with America Ferrera's phenomenal speech there at the end of the movie. And when that speech happened, my whole theater just started clapping and cheering because obviously it was filled with women and girls. And this movie just did a really good job at driving that message home. And we also get to see Barbie go on her journey of self-discovery as she becomes what she wants to be and not what everyone else wants her to be. And I think that's a message slash story that a lot of women can relate to. So yes, this movie has great humor and it doesn't take itself too seriously, but at the core of this movie, Greta Gerwig delivered a great message. And next up for the good is the set design. And the set design in this movie is outstanding, and honestly, it should be nominated for an Oscar. It quite literally transports you to Barbie land, and it is so much fun to be in. It's vibrant with all the pink and the amazing costume design as well. Let's not forget that. The costume design in this movie was great as well. But this world was also super expressive, and it is exactly what you think of when you think of Barbie Land. Moving on to the so-so, and the first thing I have here is Will Ferrel and his Mattel employees, I guess. I mean, throughout the movie, I did think Will Ferrel was pretty funny overall, but I also do think this movie could have went without him. It just felt like him and his group kind of popped up from time to time in this movie, and with everything else going on in this movie, it was really easy to forget that they were even in the movie until they popped up right there at the very end, and you were kind of like, oh, Yeah, that's right. These guys are in this movie. I don't think Will Ferrell did bad by any means. I mean, he was Will Ferrell doing Will Ferrell things in a movie, and I think that's always pretty funny. But his role didn't really have too much effect on the plot, so I definitely think this movie could have went without him. And kind of going off of that, that leads me into the next thing for the so-so, and that is pretty much all the real world stuff. And when we were in the real world, I guess overall it was fine, but it just didn't feel like it fit totally into the movie. I mean, don't get me wrong, there are some things I did enjoy about the real world, which was that Mattel chase, and then Ken just finding out about men in the real world. That was just, I thought that whole sequence was just really funny. But other than that, the real world stuff was just okay. And honestly, when I was watching the movie, I just wanted to get back to Barbie Land because Barbie Land is where all the fun stuff happened in this movie. And finally, let's get into the bad. And the only thing I have here is that this movie did have quite a bit going on. There are a bunch of storylines in this movie which kind of made it tough to wrap everything up there in the end. We had Barbie's story, we had that mother-daughter relationship with America Ferrera, we had Will Ferrell, and then we even had Ken's story that kind of came together there right at the end. And because of all these different things going on, it does seem like this movie loses focus from time to time, but once we refocused right there at the end to find out what Barbie's ending was, that's where I think this movie nailed the ending, because we were in that big void where Barbie was with Ruth. We had that Billie Eilish song playing in the background, which was just beautiful, if I do say so myself, and that scene just packed a lot of emotion overall. And if it wasn't for all the other stuff going on in this movie, I think that ending would have hit even harder than it already did. So all in all, Barbie is a great movie. It has non-stop laughs and packs in a great message. The cast is awesome and Barbie Land looks stunning. And in terms of humor and just pure entertainment, this is probably one of the best movies we have gotten all year. Those are my thoughts on Barbie. Be sure to let me know what you thought of the movie down in the comments. And as always, be sure to like, subscribe, comment, get your Eazy Apparel at shopeasyapparel.com. God bless, and I'll see you guys later. Peace.